In the last video, we were discussing about variable or construct. Now in this video, we will talk about the quantitative research model. When we do quantitative research, we begin from these two variables, independent variable and the dependent variable. If you see in the independent variable, we have variable known as green HRM, and in the dependent variable, we have environmental sustainability. Now, if you see the first one, the green HRM, environmental sustainability, and we have mentioned that this is a theoretical form. Now the question is that once we have these two variables, independent variable green HRM and the dependent variable environmental sustainability, can we measure them once we finalized variable? The answer is that we cannot test them. This is what we call the theory, and we need to understand this phenomena. So in the order to measure these variables, independent variable and dependent variable, we must bring this from theoretical level to empirical level, bring it down. So this is the level, if you see the empirical level, this is the level where we can measure these variables. So how you want to measure these variables, it's your choice. You can measure either unidimensionally, it can be multidimensional, it can be reflective, can be formative. So this is the measurement part. Now the question is that there are few other variables, for example, perceived usefulness or purchase intention. Now these are certain variables we have. If we have in the model, these variables were developed by a person who developed the theory. If you see in this model, we have two variables, green HRM and the environmental sustainability. Remember, these variables were developed qualitatively. So this is what we call the theoretical part, or the theory are developed qualitatively. They only tell that one variables to another. How to measure the variables, they did not tell you, and they didn't measure the variables. So many authors who developed how to measure these variables. For example, green HRM, there are 3-4 authors who will let us know that how we can measure this variable green HRM, and there are 3-4 authors, let's say, who will guide us that how we can measure this terminology, environmental sustainability. So which instrument you want to use, again it's up to you, and it will happen in again chapter number 3. So that's why we have few terminologies to understand in the order to bring this theoretical level to empirical level. We normally used an older form, we use adopted and adaptive, but now in the recent literature we have some alternative terminologies to understand, or the new terminologies. This is known as validated scale, and we have another, this is known as improvised scale. Validated scales which go to the process of developing, testing items one time, while improvised scale instrument is already published, that did not go to any scale development procedure. So we have seen that once items are used in the paper, normally students use them as it is. Remember one thing, that we cannot blindly follow the improvised scale. But why? Suppose original paper has 10 items, but other paper is taking only 3. Now you can see that the content of both of the papers has been changed. You lost 7 items without a formal procedure. So this is actually called improvised scale. So we cannot blindly follow the improvised scale paper. So once we have items in this form, then we can only go to collect the data. How many items to measure the variable, again it's up to you. You want to use the unidimensional or multidimensional, it's up to you. you need to decide that which one measurement you want to use, and this will happen in chapter number 3. So once we have this form, it must be ready before we go to collect the data. Each variable must have items. Few students who make a mistake that they collect the data but they don't know about their variables. They don't know that what is their dependent variable. So they are not clear and they are unsure about their variables. So if you are going to collect the data, you must have this form and you must have clarity about your model. All of your variable must be appeared in the questionnaire. We used another term that is called the marker variable. Marker variable that is not in the model but we have in the questionnaire. We collect the data for that particular variable. We have basically two different kind of problems. If you see over here, number one, suppose we have 5 variables in the model. If we have 5 variables in the model, then we must have at least 5 sections in the questionnaire to measure each of them. The number second, the section can be long or short because of some variables are multidimensional, like personality. Personality got 4 dimensions, but your variable is still one, personality. So this is how we measure these variables.